You remember the war with Iraq. George W. Bush spent years traveling the country, drumming up support from the American people for the invasion of Iraq. He went, I don't know how many cities. He went to college campuses. There were prime time addresses. There was the sharing of intelligence. And not in great detail, but George W. Bush and members of his administration made it clear that intelligence agencies around the world agreed, had concluded, that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Saddam himself was confirming, yep, I've got him, because Saddam Hussein wanted to be the big guy in the region. Saddam Hussein wanted to show the Iranians and the Saudis and the Jordanians, the Palestinians, the Egyptians, that he was the big kahuna that the United States was afraid of. So every rumor about weapons of mass destruction, he did his best to confirm. But remember, there weren't any. We invade Iraq, and remember, Colin Powell said the most embarrassing moment of his tenure as Secretary of State was when he went to the United Nations Security Council and presented the evidence of weapons of mass destruction. And there were photos, satellite photos of so-called supposed installations of weapons of mass destruction. So we hurriedly moved forward to the invasion of Iraq, and it didn't take long to realize there weren't any weapons of mass destruction. Now, there were people on the ground. Well, yeah, we saw them. They were trucked over to Syria. We heard that. But that was by people said that, who wanted it to be true. I mean, it was the justification for the war in Iraq. And what was the source for ontological certitude that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction? Why, it was American intelligence agencies. Bush proudly touted the work of the intel community, and not just ours, that the intelligence agencies of our allies in Pakistan, in the UK, you name it. And then all of a sudden we get over there, we invade Iraq with shock and awe, and there aren't any weapons of mass destruction. Maybe a canister of nerve gas was found here next to a gas station or whatever, but there weren't any major stocks. So I got something jogged my memory about this. You remember Bush was hated, reviled. The Florida recount aftermath, the Democrats, the drive-bys, the Washington establishment. Bush was a dumb, stupid cowboy. He was just a rich kid who wouldn't have gotten anywhere if it was not for his rich dad. You remember all the insults. And Al Gore was supposed to continue the traditions of the Democrat Party and Bill Clinton. And then listen to the establishment. The Supreme Court came in and prematurely halted the recount, which would have shown that Al Gore won. So the Democrats and the media immediately proclaimed Bush illegitimate on day one. And they treated him as an illegitimate president for all 8 years. And following the invasion of Iraq and the discovery that there were no weapons of mass destruction, what then happened? An all-out assault by the Democrat Party and the media to destroy the Bush administration that ratcheted way up in the second term, and the entire war on terror effort as practically illegitimate, because if there weren't any weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, what else is Bush lying to us about? And so then we had to have a save-the-day plan. Late in the game in Iraq, Petraeus came up with the surge, and he was due to testify on Capitol Hill about it. And there's Hillary out there calling him David Betraeus and accusing Betraeus of lying even before he had testified. And it just got me to thinking, right here in the middle of another Republican presidency that was hated and reviled is, quote, unquote, the intelligence community. Now, we know that the deep state and the intelligence community has been feeding the media pap and BS for over a year. It's coming up on a year and a half now. We know about the fake, phony, Democrat-paid-for Trump dossier. We know that it was used, we're more than likely relatively certain it was used to fool a judge to get a warrant to spy on Trump at his office, his transition campaign. And all of this made possible by what? Intel. That we would not object to, that we would not reject. Why we couldn't. These are the biggest patriots in our country. They're charged with protecting us and informing us of the greatest threats we face, keeping us ahead of the game. But what if all of that intel that assured Tony Blair, assured George W. Bush, assured our allies in Canada and Australia and all of our other coalition partners, what if it was bogus? No, I'm not leveling an official charge because I don't know. I just, doesn't it seem like a pretty big miss? Remember, Bush is traveling the country for 2 years with the proof that Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction in his hands, and occasionally he's sharing some of the intel at some of these public appearances where he's trying to drum up public support. Now, we know that the intelligence community, we know the FBI, we know the Obama CIA director and his director of national intelligence used a fraudulent opposition research document, the Trump dossier, as legitimate intel. They're trying to destroy another Republican president. They're trying to remove another Republican president. It just made me really curious. Remember when it happened, when the day of discovery that there were no weapons of mass destruction, well, we learned there weren't any. You remember what your reaction was individually? I got to thinking about my reaction, and it certainly wasn't, they lied to us. Man, how did they get this so wrong, I thought. Holy cow. It never occurred to me that it would have been done on purpose until lately.
America's Anchorman,